And we're joined with by attorney at law, Kiel Taklalsingh. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening. How are you?
Yes, well, good. Well, a lot has been going on. Somebody described it as a coup on our constitution. Let me ask you, how did we get here?
Well, I think we got here essentially by misfeasance in public office. I don't know any other way to put it. You had public office holders who clearly either did not understand what their roles were under the Constitution or deliberately set out in their actions to misappropriate roles which did not belong to them. And I want to target specifically the former Attorney General and those in his cabinet and those who plotted or planned with him in order to bring about this now infamous indemnity agreement. It is tried constitutional law. Tried constitutional law because it's actually stated in the Constitution that the only person and the only office holder that ought to take any type of decisions when it comes to criminal prosecution is the Director of Public Prosecution. No one else in our country has either the responsibility or the duty to engage in any discussions when it comes to co-opting witnesses for criminal prosecution, especially when it comes to plea bargaining. That is purely a function of the DPP, and therefore no other office holder, including the Attorney General, ought to have engaged in such activity. And I think when you look at this entire imbroglio, that is really what is at the heart of it. It is that public office holders in our country either did not understand what their roles were, their respective roles were, or they deliberately set out to overreach and overstep their roles for the purposes of bringing out political prosecutions. And I, as an attorney at law, I'm not happy with that at all.
Well, let me ask you, we're in the midst of blame gaming and pointing fingers. It seems that certain individuals have been trying to distance themselves from it, and there are those who are very cautious as far as making a statement. But where do we go from here? We got here, as you said, because somebody was overzealous and decided that they wanted to go after certain individuals. But exactly how much of the law, the process, was circumvented just because the agenda was a personal one?
Well, it wasn't just circumvented. It was an abuse of the law, an abuse of constitutional procedure. I'm not going to mince words. Everybody understands, as I said, the role of the DPP. There could be no misunderstanding in that regard, and therefore anybody who set about to enter into what were essentially plea agreements with witnesses under the guise of what they call indemnity agreements must have known what they were doing. And from now on, I think the only step that our country can take in order to restore some semblance of a democratic state is for the police now to become overzealous. The Anti-Corruption Bureau, the Fraud Squad, or any other division of the police service has to now get involved and demonstrate to this society and demonstrate to the citizens of this country that they are in fact an independent organization that will not sit idly by or take lightly what has taken place in this country. They must investigate what happened, and they must investigate that indemnity agreement, particularly to determine if that indemnity agreement was really merely an indemnity, or was it in fact, did it encroach into the realm of inducing a witness to give evidence, which of course is misbehaving, which of course is perverting the course of public justice, which is an offense. Anybody who interferes with a witness or tries to either induce a witness to give false evidence or to coerce or intimidate a witness from giving evidence is essentially committing the crime of perverting the course of justice. And therefore, and that's where we must zero in, if this indemnity agreement, which seemed to promise the stars and the moon to a certain person in order to give evidence against political opponents, if that transgressed into the realm of what is really an inducement or an enticement to give evidence, then you are now trespassing then you are squarely within the parameters of perverting the course of justice. And that is where the police now have the jurisdiction to investigate, to determine, to gather evidence, to collect cell phones, to collect emails, to collect text messages, to see every piece of correspondence which passed between the major actors in this entire tragedy. They must now take up every piece of communication, every piece of scrap of paper, analyze it, and to see if, in fact, the course of justice was perverted.
And let me ask you, Mr. Taklalsingh, I mean, when one comes up to concoct such well, I should say, an entire plot to get things going, what was it that they were banking on? I mean, at some point in time, I don't think they were banking on the fact that this was going to be made public. What were they banking on that this was just going to go through and none of this would have been out in the public domain?
Well, as usual, whether fortunately or unfortunately as a lawyer, I obviously believe in the presumption of innocence. I am not going to say with a definite fact that any of these gentlemen did anything wrong. But what I do say is from the facts that have emerged in the public domain, it is extremely, extremely suspicious and extremely, extremely worrying what took place. And as far as their motives, the only clear motive that I can discern from the facts, it may not have been the motive. For all we know, it may have been that the Attorney General says it was doing exactly what he says. He was concerned about public funds. That can't be determined without a police investigation. But if you ask me my opinion, from looking at the facts, looking at the opinion, it seems to be a one-minded, one-tracked, bloodhound type persecution of persons for political ends. That seems to be what it was. It seemed to be a predetermined course of action. Get Annan and Gerald at any cost. And that seems to be what it is from the facts. That's the best that I can see. That's unfortunately my opinion. And when you can say that, when you look at the facts, here you have a man who switched opinions in the Malcolm Jones affair in 2015. He sues the state for outstanding fees which you say he isn't entitled to. He files a case in court. You oppose the case initially. When you lose at first instance, you file an appeal and then you withdraw that appeal against him. Then right after, he's entering into indemnity agreements with you. And then right after that, he plea bargains with the Director of Public Prosecution to give evidence against two politically known persons of the United National Congress. From my view, when you look at those facts, it seems to be that this entire scenario was orchestrated and concocted simply to get at Messrs. Ramdeen and Mr. Ramlogan, unfortunately.
How do you get this message across to the average citizen, just how dangerous this whole situation that has erupted is, especially dealing with our constitution and our democracy? Because if it happens, if it goes through, if this is swept under the carpet, what are some of the consequences we will have to pay as citizens of this country?
Well, it's the consequences that we've already suffered. You have, coming out of this scenario, out of this imbroglio, as I say, this entire maelstrom, what you have coming out of this is a loss of public confidence in the prosecutorial system, loss of public confidence in the justice system, and a loss of public confidence in institutions. And when those three pillars of our democracy come collapsing in, what you have is anarchy, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, and dictatorship. That is what we live in today. It is a classic hallmark. Go to any dictatorship in the world, Venezuela, go to Uruguay, go to some of those Middle Eastern authoritarian countries. A hallmark of that is unjustified and political prosecutions. Anybody who voices concern against the state is either killed or prosecuted. We are now from a point, we have left from a point of a good justice system to now where political opponents are being prosecuted. You know what comes after that? It is hit squads and killings. That is where this democracy could be heading. And that is what we must fight to preserve and protect.
And that's a very scary thing. Before you go, if you had to say something to the Law Association and to your colleagues, what would you say to them this evening?
I'm not known to use coarse language. I'm not known to use very coarse language, but I'm going to step out tonight and tell the Law Association you need to open your damn mouth. You need to open your damn mouth and you need to speak and condemn this action. Or give us an opinion. Support it so that we could criticize you. One out of the two, but say something. Because silence gives consent and silence is the tool of the oppressor.
Any closing comments, Mr. Taklalsingh?
thank you very much, and I want to encourage all of your listeners to speak out on this issue. Speak out on this issue, and when eventually, I hope that the strong opposition that we have, they make a call for some type of public demonstration in this matter. And when that happens, I will be at the front line in that march.
Thank you so much again. Appreciate that.
Good night, and have a good night.
Same to you. All right, so there you have it, folks. That was Kiel Taklalsingh, attorney at law, and basically explaining what is taking place, what is happening, and many people have been calling, of course, to get some clarity on what's going on. Very strong language, very strong language. People are complaining that they haven't heard anything from the Law Association on the issue.